Welcome back, Gooners family. Arsenal can complete 3-year transformation in January, and it won't cost Andrea Berta a penny. Arsenal could be presented with some interesting market opportunities when the January window opens, including one long-term target. Arsenal could finally complete a transformation 3 years in the making in January with the pursuit of one soon-to-be free agent. The Gunners have enjoyed a stellar season so far in the Premier League and currently lead the way at the top of the table. As things stand, they sit 2 points clear of nearest challengers Manchester City and will require a strong second half of the campaign if they are to pip their rivals to the title. The Gunners have enjoyed a stellar season so far in the Premier League and currently lead the way at the top of the table. As things stand, they sit 2 points clear of nearest challengers Manchester City and will require a strong second half of the campaign if they are to pip their rivals to the title. That said, there is still work to be done with the January window right around the corner, as well as an eye on next summer. One area of the transfer market clubs always look to exploit is free agents, and it is fair to say a number of top players are set to be available in 6 months' time. Arsenal star absent from training pictures after colliding with teammates in Everton win. Every word Mikel Arteta said on Arsenal win over Crystal Palace, Kepa, Norgard, and Chelsea tie. Among them are defenders Ibrahima Konate and Dayot Upamecano, who are yet to pen new deals with Liverpool and Bayern Munich respectively. However, it is further up the pitch where Arsenal's interest could lie, with Juventus forward Dusan Vlahovic also entering the final months of his contract. Arsenal have long been admirers of the Serbian international, whom they missed out on in the summer of 2022 when he left Fiorentina. In his 3 years with Juventus, the 25-year-old has scored 64 goals and registered 16 assists in 162 appearances across all competitions. A new deal in Turin has not been explicitly ruled out by the player. However, the longer time goes by without an agreement, the likelier a summer exit becomes. From January, Vlahovic will be free to negotiate pre-contract agreements with clubs outside of Italy. In January 2022, Sky Sports reported that Arsenal held a strong interest in Vlahovic, but any deal was always set to be complicated due to the transfer fee involved. It was also noted at the time that the player's preference was to join a club competing in the Champions League, a competition for which the Gunners had not qualified in the 4 seasons prior to that window. Now, it is fair to say the circumstances have changed significantly. If Vlahovic opts to see out his deal at Juventus, there would be no transfer fee involved, and Arsenal have once again re-established themselves as a European force. That said, whether Arsenal have moved past their interest in Vlahovic remains the key question, with Gyökeres the player the club have invested in for the long term. Although the Serbian international is still only 25, injuries have plagued his time in Turin, and he is currently sidelined after undergoing surgical repair of a tendon avulsion of the left adductor. Pep Guardiola names 4 Champions League title contenders, as Mikel Arteta sent Arsenal message. Pep Guardiola has named the 4 teams he believes could win the Champions League this season, following Manchester City's exit to Real Madrid. Pep Guardiola has named the 4 clubs he thinks have the mettle to win the Champions League, following Manchester City's elimination at the hands of Real Madrid. The Premier League outfit suffered a 6-3 aggregate defeat to Los Blancos in the playoffs, with Kylian Mbappe netting a hat-trick in the second leg. The Man City boss brutally overlooked Arsenal as contenders for the European crown and tipped the reigning champions as this year's favorites. Speaking to reporters at the Etihad Stadium after a 3-1 defeat to Real Madrid, Guardiola said, "Of course Madrid are a contender, definitely. But there are other good teams around. It will be an interesting Champions League season. Madrid are always favorites for this trophy. There are other teams who are having a very good season, but Madrid are always favorites." Arsenal latest, Arteta singles out Odegaard's actions as Rice backed for new role. 13 players could miss Arsenal vs Crystal Palace after Kai Havertz's return boost. Guardiola added, "But there are other teams that are playing very well. Liverpool are having a really good season up until now. Barcelona are amazing. Paris Saint-Germain, with my friend Luis Enrique in charge, are on the march. But obviously Madrid are favorites." City's back-to-back defeats to Real Madrid, now 3 times in 4 years, have been a notable pattern in the knockouts, with Guardiola conceding that this time around the better team won. The Spaniard said, "The best team won. They deserved it. This season we haven't been so good. I felt that. In the previous seasons, we were better than Madrid, but this time not so. In this competition, quality always counts. This season Madrid are capable of long spells of possession. They were dynamic, they're fast when they run, and they pressed well." Guardiola added, "What you have to do is accept it and move on. Nothing is eternal. It was hard to bring the 3-2 first leg defeat here, but now we have to learn from this and accept that there are another, 30 or 40 games to come this season. We have to try to win the FA Cup, we have to try to finish in the top 4 in the league, and we have to try to be back again in this competition next season. I have very little to reproach my squad for in terms of how they've played in the Champions League over the years." Reminiscing about past clashes, Guardiola said, "When we were eliminated by Madrid in the past, I felt we were very close. We reached semi-finals and finals. Tonight, when a team is better sportingly than you have to accept it and congratulate them." In the European scene, Arsenal is set to confront either PSV or Feyenoord in the round of 16. Both Dutch teams made headlines by eliminating powerhouses Juventus and AC Milan, respectively. Arsenal's next 5 fixtures compared to rivals after Carabao Cup penalty drama.
Arsenal booked their place in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup with a penalty shootout victory over Crystal Palace on Tuesday evening. Arsenal have lined up a Carabao Cup semi-final tie with London rivals Chelsea following their penalty shootout victory over Crystal Palace in the quarter-finals on Tuesday evening. It took until the 80th minute at the Emirates Stadium for the deadlock to be broken, eventually coming courtesy of an own goal from Palace defender Maxence Lacroix. Mikel Arteta said we're unable to hang on to their slender lead, however, as Mark Gahey clinched a last-gasp equalizer in added time to take the game to penalties. An intense shootout eventually ended 8-7 with Lacroix at the scene of the crime once again for Palace, as his spot kick was saved by Kepa Arrizabalaga. Arsenal now face a two-legged tie against Chelsea next month, with a place in the final at Wembley Stadium in March at stake. The first leg will be played at Stamford Bridge on January 14th, followed by the return leg at the Emirates Stadium in early February. 13 players could miss Arsenal vs Crystal Palace after Kai Havertz's return boost. Arsenal lineups vs Crystal Palace decided, as Mikel Arteta makes 8 bold changes. In the meantime, focus will return to the Premier League and maintaining their position at the top of the table. Arsenal are currently 2 points clear of nearest challengers Manchester City and 3 clear of surprise contenders Aston Villa. Here, Football.London takes a look at the upcoming fixtures for all 3 sides as the title race heats up. Arsenal have 2 fixtures remaining before the end of 2025, starting with the visit of Brighton shortly after Christmas. Then it's a home clash against potential title rivals Aston Villa before the new year. At the start of January, the Gunners will travel away to Bournemouth, who they are yet to face in the Premier League this term. A few days later, they will host Liverpool in hope of enacting revenge for the narrow defeat at Anfield earlier in the campaign. In mid-January, Arteta's side will then kick off their FA Cup campaign with a third-round tie. They will travel to face Championship side Portsmouth at Fratton Park. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe.